tabletop role-playing news. We aim to amuse and we aim to enthuse. And Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG.
Hello, and welcome to Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG talk. I am Russ, aka Morris, or Morris, aka Russ, and with me this week is
PJ Coffey from the Southampton Guild of Roleplayers, also from Homebrew and Hacking TTRPG Design. Joining us today, we have someone who shone like the brightest star in all the sky because it was very sunny out and she was wearing a lot of sunscreen. It's the one, it's the only,
It's me, Jessica from ENNIE Publishing, Factor 50 all day, every day, even when I'm just sitting inside.
Yeah, those light bulbs, they give up far too much solar radiation.
No, like I'm sitting in my office right now and I have a big window in front of me and I have like a balcony door to the side, all glass, and the sun comes in.
Do you have windows? Wow.
I do. They allow such things.
Decadence.
But yeah, even in the winter, I wear 25 on my face every day.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. So we got a big show this week. Should we have a look at what's coming up in the show?
Indeed.
Oh.
So our brand new idea is to show you in advance what's coming up in the show, so you know what's coming.
And that's if
We've got
you're
quite
watching,
a lot to talk about.
If you're watching the live stream, which we live stream every Friday, 2 p.m. BST on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and that's it.
Yeah, if you're listening to the audio, all this is just in the show notes. Just scroll down in your podcatching app and it'll be there also. So it's basically a list of what's coming up. So we got, well, let's get started, shall we?
Yeah.
Get started with item number 1, which is Roll20's D&D 2024 Roadmap feature reveal.
Boom.
Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so some big reveals, apparently. So, amongst other things, exciting things you can do, is build interactive shops and treasure chests instantly on Roll20.
I like this. This is quite nice. This seems like taking a lot of admin off GMs to do that work.
It's a loot manager system, basically.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And it's coming out in July. So you can quickly generate a storefront or a treasure chest, which will be populated with stuff from the sort of compendium content that you have. What books you've bought and things like that from there. And it comes complete with pricing, rarity, item details, and then players can just browse and buy them at their own pace. Or if it's like a treasure chest, just browse and take the items at their own pace.
And then it adds it to their sheet. You can, as the GM, edit what is available there, so it's not just everything. So you can choose what items are available, what this person has in their shop, what's in the treasure chest. But yeah.
I think that's quite a nifty little idea. I quite like that. Although it does make the interaction less roleplay and more video gamey. So instead of talking to a shopkeeper, you're just going to be...
Well, I don't think that's necessarily true. I would still roleplay it, and I would have, like, in the example given on Roll20, they have Steve's Superior Swords, which is a wonderful name for a shop for alliteration. You could still be Steve talking like, hey, this is what I have here, and talk you through it. But it means players can just quickly add it to their character sheet and don't have to ask the GM what is it and what it's plus and and all these sorts of details. It means it just adds it there. So I mean it could discourage it, but
like from my point of view, I don't want to spend my valuable session time on like shopping and stuff. Like shopping is a very exciting part of the role-playing experience, but it's one of those lonely fun concepts where like
although I have listened to a couple of actual plays, and it's not something I've ever really done in my games, where they really have properly role-played out the shopping experience. And it's not like they've got access to everything. They'll go into a shop and they'll talk to someone and this person will offer them specific things. And it has actually worked and seemed quite fun.
Yeah, I've had that as well.
When you make it into when you make it into an actual...
The NPCs give you like plot information and things like that. So as well as being a shopkeeper, they're also going to talk to you, and they actually have information on, this spooky, mysterious house on top of the hill. Like, so it's shopping can be an excuse to interact with the townsfolk and, learn about the world and things.
Yeah, I think there's various. I think we've got a nice split of the various types of GM here, just because like it's a role playing opportunity, and we can give extra information to players. And I'm like, oh, it's boring. And Russ is like, but this is a great excuse for me to recreate the polearm sketch. Do you have a halberd? No. Oh, those weeks. Etc. And Russ is smiling now, and like, oh yes, because he does recognise this description of himself.
Yeah, I would Monty Python that thing up to the hilt.
Yeah.
I have my weaknesses, and that is definitely one of them.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So anyway, what else have they got on their roadmap then? So we've got a condition syncing feature also coming in July.
Professional tier only, though.
Condition.
Yeah. So it syncs conditions from your sheet directly to your token. So if you apply a condition on your character sheet, the token in some way shows that condition on the actual battle map.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then they've just got some general sort of editing, automation, and views, sort of inline editing, more homebrew options, macro and token action support. I don't even know what that means. That's tech talk for something.
Like a macro would be like a pre-selected set of key presses and so forth. And I've seen them used like when you do like reduce a bunch of hit points or something from a creature, and it's got like an effect, then you can have like a little expanded aura around it, and then if that aura is taking some damage,
right,
or if they get bloodied, then it changes it. It updates all those sort of things automatically. Is what I've seen macros used for.
Okay.
So, but you normally have to make those yourself. I've just never been bothered learning because it's like just one more damn thing.
Yes, it's just more work. I suppose it saves you work in the long run, but you've got to do the work in the first place.
Exactly. I've seen some people do really impressive things with Roll20, but it is that learning curve. Once you're there, it's great. Like I remember during the pandemic, my GM used a lot of dynamic lighting tools, which actually made dungeon crawls really fun because it was like, I can't see on the map what's around the corner. And sometimes people that were ahead of me could see things that I couldn't. And it was, again, nice for role play and things like that. So, because when you're playing a map on the table, you can pretend you can't see it, but you can.
Yeah.
I'm naturally a very low prep GM. So Roll20 requires quite a bit of prep, doesn't it? Which doesn't require it, but to make full use of all the features of it, it requires a bit of prep.
Like it's like any of these online games. The more you're prepared to put in, the more you get out. And I also really liked dynamic lighting as well. But for me, I just always find myself with one player, one out of the lot of them, and their computer was running using a tortilla or perhaps a potato chip rather than anything that can handle all dynamic lighting. So it's just like, great. So now I have to switch it off, and all my prep work has been wasted. I had fun doing it. I had fun in my head, but it can't handle it. There's always one player that can't handle it, and it's like one player's computer can't handle it. I'm like, it's just one of those things that puts me off online role playing, to be honest.
When you said it was being run on a tortilla, I thought this was some sort of IT term that I didn't know. I was like, I wonder what that means. I was like, I was like, is it a new version of? Is it a Linux alternative or something like that? What is a tortilla?
No.
But then I got the joke.
It's an actual tortilla. Yeah.
So
I'd like to thank Weird Al for this excellent joke. I've always enjoyed it, and now I've shared it with you.
Thank you, sir.
But
so on the screen at the moment, we've got the full roadmap because they made a nice little info chart, which you can look at to see everything they're doing. It's quite. I don't know if you can read it on the screen. It's quite small, but you can see like a whole bunch of stuff in addition to the things that we mentioned, which is all coming out over the next month.
You missed out the thing that would make me the most excited, which is at the bottom, custom species builder.
Where's that?
Yes, at the bottom of the green section.
Oh, of course, that's on homebrew stuff. Yeah, gotcha.
Ability to create your own custom species directly in the builder. I mean,
I don't imagine it. I imagine it's just a enter some stuff in boxes type thing, rather than it does any calculating points or anything like that for you. Or I would have thought. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, but it lets you takes the data and put it in. Like I've already done all the you can got the point stuff, so that would let you do it, and just like take your ingenious ideas and put them into effect, which is otherwise quite hard.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So.
Yeah. It's nice them to show that public roadmap because then we're able to see, be able to see what they're doing, and it'll change as they move stuff around and do stuff. So there's the link on the Roll20 site if you're interested in particular items like PJ is.
Yeah. I was just wondering if there was anything that either of you two were excited about that was coming up.
I mean, I like that treasure chest thing. I think that's a great idea, and I hope that we can do something like that in Gateway.
Oh yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not even sure. How far along that would probably be quite a long way off in the future. But I like it as an idea very much.
Yeah.
Talking of Gateway, it wasn't actually on our schedule for today because it didn't even occur to me. But we had a big update this week.
Oh
yeah.
We didn't have a slide for it because it's only just popped into my head. And I don't have a TARDIS, so I can't go back in time and do that on the slides. But in Gateway, we've now got monsters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the monsters, not only can you use monsters just like you can a character and roll on the roll on things and all that stuff. You can also edit them, obviously, to make custom monsters, but it's got everything from the adventurous guys. It's got all those NPCs and stuff, plus all the actual monsters. But also, you can add them to your party as companions.
Oh.
So on my Thursday night game, we've taken a mule, just a basic mule, added it as a companion because that's basically what carries a lot of our loot. And then it's got an inventory tab. And so the mule is carrying a lot of our loot around. And there it is, right there on the and the mule's got stats if we need them. Brilliant.
It's their job.
Yeah. That's what a mule is for.
Is it called Bill? A reference to
the one in Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Ah, good stuff.
The one they have to send packing just before they go into Moria.
Well, I think it's more the Watcher in the Deep that does that. But yeah, it's like run, Bill, run.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we've got a question from Damien. Just interrupt before we move on to the next thing. Do we have a date for the What's Odd is New bestiary? Very excited. I'm very, very glad that you're excited. And I was just looking at a early draft of, I think it was Monsters A through D-ish so far have been done on layout. It's looking gorgeous, and maybe we'll show some off next week. I don't have them to hand right now.
Next week we're going to have Paul Hughes on, who's going to be talking about pets and sidekicks. So maybe
that's true.
2 weeks.
The week after.
Yeah. But it's looking gorgeous. It's looking gorgeous. And if you're familiar with the What's Odd is New starter kit, the way the monsters are presented in that, it's a little bit like that, but with some inspiration from the Level Up Monstrous Menageries, where we've got not only the description of the creatures, we've got like some plot hooks and we've got some sample lair descriptions and things like that. But even down to just like a bear, we've got like 6 different sample lair descriptions, So it's and plot hooks related to bears. Who'd have thought there were so many?
Well, there you go. But to answer the question, the pre-launch page is up on Kickstarter, so you can click follow and you'll be notified when it launches. It will be the crowdfunder happening after Pets and Sidekicks. So that will probably be August, September time.
A monster book followed by a monster book.
Yeah, but there's a Level Up monster book and then there's a What's Odd is New monster book. So get your monsters.
I suspect one will do much better on Kickstarter than the other, but
we shall see.
It's amazing. Interesting.
Right, anyway. What do we think about solo play?
Well, when I saw this news article, I thought it meant literally solo, as in I can sit down by myself and play D&D, which it does not mean that. It means solo player, so one GM and one player, right?
Yes.
Oh, duet.
That's what they mean by this, yeah.
Yes.
But they're not using the prop term for it. Okay. Yeah.
Well, it's called a solo player guide, as in you have one player.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's me that was using the term. I said solo play. I should have said solo player.
Well,
But,
then you
yeah.
lose 5 points, Russ. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was saving those points up. I heard that you can exchange them at Marks and Spencer's.
Oh, bougie.
Yeah. That's what I'm
It's not
saying.
Christmas. You don't go to
Yeah.
Marks and Spencer's outside of Christmas. That's the only time you can go.
Get thee to a Poundland, sir. That's all we have to know.
I don't think you can go to Poundland anymore, can you? It's gone, isn't it?
Is it?
I
Pound
thought it
World.
closed down like in the last 2 or 3 months. They went bankrupt and were actually sold for £1 as well.
That's funny.
Ironically, it is.
They died as they lived.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. There's some very British references for our American audience there.
Yes.
Dollar store, I believe they have. Same
Yeah.
thing.
And Marks
Anyway.
and Spencer's is a high-end grocery and department store.
We don't have to explain everything. People will pick it up by context.
Okay, fine. What's the actual news that we were talking about?
The news that we're talking about is in Dragondels, the upcoming Dragondels.
Yes.
There is 3 of the 10 adventures designed to be appropriate for solo play. And when they say solo play, they mean 1 GM, 1 player. So
Solo
duets,
players.
but they're not
duet
using
play,
the-
yeah.
Okay. Sure. Why not?
But since the word solo player in my head now, I'm just going to keep saying it because I can't help it. So when I say solo play, understand that what I mean is a player and a DM, even though you know that that's not technically accurate.
Whereas I'm just getting like really strong solo leveling vibes.
Apply like a mental macro in your head to translate it automatically to duet play when you hear me say that.
Okay, so how does this duet play work, Russ?
So there is a supernatural gift, and it's called Blessing of the Soul Champion. And it basically means that a solo player can play through some of the adventures, only 3 of them apparently, in the new anthology. Right. And this blessing, it's basically kind of a little bit like a feat, I suppose. Gives you a couple of things. It gives you a lot more inspiration. So you gain heroic inspiration every time you finished a short or a long rest, or whenever you roll initiative, you immediately gain heroic inspiration.
Okay.
And heroic inspiration in 2024 is a re-roll rather than advantage.
Yeah.
So you get a bunch of re-rolls.
Yeah.
And then you get a bunch of temporary hit points every time you gain a level.
Right.
And use it. Temporary hit points equal to 10 times your level. So if you go to level 4, you get 40 temporary hit points.
Nice.
Thank you for explaining the maths.
Yeah.
I needed it.
It's okay.
Yeah. So 3 of them are designed for solo play. The level 3 adventure, which is called Baker's Doesn't. The level 7 adventure, which is called The Dragon of Nakjir. And the level 12 adventure, A Copper for a Song.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
12.
Yeah. What's interesting about these? These are the 3 adventures that have more of an emphasis on non-violent problem solving.
Yes.
So some of the adventures are a bit more combat heavy than others. These are the very combat-like adventures that they designed for solo play.
Duet play,
yeah.
Duet play, yeah.
Well, the problem is solo play is actually a thing in RPGs. As in, you can actually just play RPGs on your own, and there's a whole section of stuff which is designed to help facilitate that. So that's part of the reason why Sean J has identified it is confusing. And when you have 2 players,
we understand that solo play is incorrect.
We have terms for these things already. What is wrong with D&D that they don't? I don't know. Go on the internet or look in a book.
In fairness, I don't think they're saying solo play. They are saying solo player.
Yeah.
So one player.
I understand this as well, but it's like just call it duet play, and then everyone actually is on the same page, and we use the same language.
Okay, but we can all agree that solo play is the long term. What is interesting? They have supported solo. See, I'm saying it as well now. I can't help it. Solo play before. Back with the D&D Essentials kit. And that was for D&D 4th edition, wasn't it? Was that for 4th edition?
The Essentials? No, it's 5th edition. D&D
Oh,
Essentials.
of course
I
it
mean,
was. Yes, no, you're right. Yeah. And that had those scaled back companions, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I know they were quite good, and it did a fairly decent job. And that is like, if we listen to people like Sly Flourish as well, which I feel often we should, then that is a really excellent way to add in some extra role playing for a duet game. So you'd have like the player would run the mechanics of the character, but you'd be doing the narrator, the GM would be doing the actual role playing, being the Watson to their homes, ideally. In my case, just like asking really simple questions, like, "Oh, what exactly are we doing?" Which helps them to state what they're trying to do, and then like, "Oh, wait, we should be trying to do this thing." I'm like, okay.
Of course, we at EN Publishing are very, very, very keen on pets and companions. So,
in real life and in games, yeah,
yes,
indeed.
How many dogs did you end up with at your barbecue, Russ?
5.
Only 5?
My 2,
Yes.
Jess's, Django, and
yeah.
my aunt's 2 dogs. So 5.
Did Mark not bring his?
No.
Okay. Fair enough then. Because that could make
No,
it
the first time the Severus, Mark's dog, visited my house, he jumped into the pond.
It was glorious, though. It was like
I've told Mark many times, don't worry about it, it's fine. But
I still remember it. It's like just this amazing like action shot of this dog leaping with joy and abandon, ears fluffing.
If only someone had filmed it and then played it back in slow motion with some inspirational music behind it.
Spaniel's going to do what Spaniel's going to do.
Spaniel, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, like rewind it, so it's like from out a giant splash goes back into the pond, and the Spaniel jumps back out completely dry.
That's
how Spaniels are born. Actually, they just emerge and leap backwards outside of bodies of water. So
like Excaliburs.
Yes,
that's how Excaliburs are also born.
And that is how we should have a system of
government. So are we saying that Spaniels are pitched out of the water by a lady in a lake, like a shot put?
Yes.
Yeah, I am that lady.
Okay, fair enough.
That's my second job. That's what I do on the weekend.
Okay.
It's no basis for a system of government, I'll tell you that. But at this point,
I disagree and say it is.
A shot.
I believe it to be.
Looking at current systems of government, it's just as good. I think it's.
Yes.
The bar is set quite low. Anyway, let's not talk about politics. Let's talk about instead Pathfinder.
Let's talk about Pathfinder.
Let's talk about Pathfinder. Let's talk about Shining Kingdoms.
Lost Omens, Shining Kingdoms.
Yes. Yeah.
Wouldn't you believe?
So this is a book which talks about the 6 nations which make up the Shining Kingdoms in the world of Golarion.
Yeah, I believe we previously mentioned it because it did come out on the 4th of June, a month ago. But the reason I put it, June. The reason I put it in now is because on EN World we have an article up written that Dawn Dalton.
Almost a review.
Mm-hmm. It is in fact a review.
It is a review.
What did you say like that? So she wrote a review about it going into detail. So I just thought it was interesting because I had a read through of the review, and because I haven't got a copy of the book, I just thought it was quite interesting looking at the different places. And I don't know if either of you...
What is it? Is it like a splat book? Is it an adventure pathway?
It's a setting book, basically. It details 5 different kingdoms. We've got Andoran, which is a idealistic democratic republic. And then we've got Drumar, which is where money makes the world go round. It's very much a lot of trade networks and things like that. Then we've got 5 Kings Mountain, which is a dwarven seat of power. We've got Galt, which has had a revolution after revolutions, and the revolutions have revolutions, and there are magical guillotines known as the Final Blades. Sounds fun.
French.
Yeah, Galt. Yeah. And then Kionin, which is elves, isolated elves. and Taldor, which is a very old and powerful nation.
Right.
But as well as like showing you the world, it does have each area has its own magic items. They have different NPCs, spells, and different companions. There's new monsters for different areas. So it is populating the world with all this stuff. So so yeah, I thought it was quite interesting. If you're setting something in a Pathfinder world, this gives you loads of content and ideas, and apparently there's a lot of stuff that can be used for plot hooks that they're given as well, and there's some storyline threads that feed from Pathfinder scenarios as well.
Yeah. Thorn J in the chat says, haven't known a guillotine that wasn't a final blade.
Well, it's a wonder he was able to type that message in that case.
Yeah. Have you known many guillotines? I don't know. Anyway.
Perhaps they're a big fan of decapitating carrots.
Yes, that way. Take the
Perhaps. Okay, so from Galarian and Pathfinder to Warhammer and the Old World.
Oh, okay.
Indeed.
What's happening? Is that Cubicle 7 now? Or?
It is Cubicle 7.
It is Cubicle 7, yeah.
That well-known Irish TTRPG company.
Yeah. So this is a new Warhammer role-playing game from Cubicle 7, and they've got about 25 of them, I think, now. I don't know what all of them are. There's lots of Warhammer 40k ones.
There's Sigma.
And Sigma, and there's...
Well, this isn't any of those things. This is Warhammer The Old World, which is Warhammer that I am interested in. I'm sure the Sigma stuff is very good, and if you like it, fair play to you. I haven't come across it other than seeing some weird and wacky looking models. I think we actually had a chap on from Q7 to talk things about it.
Yeah, like a few years ago.
Which at the time I felt I understood. But since then, in one ear, out the other. So Warhammer The Old World, I did it when I was a kid, so I know about it. Let's go.
Well, Games Workshop, who own Warhammer, they released the miniatures game in 2024, Warhammer The Old World. And it's kind of supposed to be a sort of fresh take on the setting, which is designed for people new to it. So it's an entry point one. So, because Warhammer's got a lot of lore. And it can be a bit intimidating to
step in,
a lot of lore and a lot of very dreadful jokes, including ones that you wouldn't make nowadays, and that they probably shouldn't have made back in the 80s. But they wouldn't hang on to say, lads, are you sure?
The enemy within is very puntastic. Like every single boat is called something like the Beer Belay or something like that, and it's silly, but fun.
Which is part of the charm. It was a reaction, artistically speaking, to the high fantasy of D&D, which took itself entirely too seriously, and it's never taken itself seriously. That's extra grim. Muddy peasants poking each other with sticks. Let's go.
Yes. Yeah. So this one, so it's set like a few hundred years before the other Warhammer fantasy roleplay games.
Yeah. So I guess the idea is that you can just skip all that lore because it's set in the past. Is that what makes it more accessible?
Yeah. So Dominic McDowell, who I've got an email, I bumped into him at UK Games Expo, and he asked me to email him when I got back, and I haven't done yet. I've got to do that. I'm terrible at that sort of thing. But you know what it's like at these conventions? You bump into so many people, and everyone's going, come tell me when you get back, and we'll talk about this and that, and then you get back and you forget them all. It's terrible. That's conventions for you. But anyway, he said that they wanted people to be not to be less familiar, people who were less familiar with the lore to have an easy way in. And each character has a bunch of contacts, and these contacts can give you advice, assistance, and information, and also ground you with some background elements.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like a fun idea. I'm actually quite interested in this. I've always been for Warhammer. Just it always feels like this is a big mountain. And there's so much lore, and it's quite a complex game, and it never felt especially accessible to me because I never had the background of having kind of grown up with it like many people have.
Yeah.
Warhammer 40k, I feel like I would enjoy it. Everything I see about it, I think I would probably like that. I like grimdark future settings, but for it just felt too intimidating for me to ever get into.
Yeah.
And this, obviously, this isn't Warhammer 40k, but this is the old world. But this is a great idea. If they did something like this for 40k, I'd probably buy it, I think.
Good to know.
Yeah. So Dom, if you're listening, make one for 40k and I'll buy it. You've got one.
Okay.
You've got one customer at least. One customer.
Well, that's worth publishing a book, then, isn't it, for one person? For sure.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, all you have to do is just read the books about the Horus Heresy. I'm sure that'll bring you up to speed. Said PJ, not mentioning the fact that there are over 200 of the so-and-sos.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
I mean, one way I get around that is having a player character who is naive to the world. So maybe they're from a backwater town. They don't know much about the Empire and the world and stuff. So I tend to make a character like that if I don't know the setting, so that the player and the character at the same time can explore the world. So that's generally how I get around it. So yeah.
But
the
this book doesn't come out until. Sorry, go on.
I was just about to say the same thing. I was about to say it's not released until the first quarter of 2026. So there is
exactly
6
what
months
I was
to
going to
go. I know.
Yeah. But you beat me to it. Yeah. Too quick for me.
I know. Put all my skills on decks.
Did you though?
No, not in real life. I'm very clumsy.
Okay.
In
Right, the next story.
In real life.
Okay then.
I failed that specific role.
Yes. Yeah, that one just came across as a bit weird because the wink was bad.
Look, I'm trying my best.
Look, I can't wink either, to be fair. I can't wink. Well, I can wink. It just looks awful when I do, and it's something I avoid doing because... Yeah,
this is why we have role-playing games, so we can be cooler people than we are in real life.
Yeah. Right. Ready for the big story of the week?
This is, yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Let's just say, I am very glad that we don't have any stock on consignment with Diamond Distributors.
Wow.
Because that sounds like a bad time if you have.
Give us the overview, Russ.
Okay. So back in January, Diamond Comic Distributors filed for bankruptcy. So there's been an awful lot of people sort of like going to acquire it and then backing out and this and that and arguments and shenanigans and things since then. But we don't need to get into that because it's kind of tangential to this story and you can probably look it up if you want. But the important thing is Diamond Comic Distributors filed for bankruptcy back in January, and they own various they own amongst other things Alliance, which handles a lot of tabletop gaming. Well, I say a handful of tabletop gaming companies and a lot of comic book companies.
Yeah.
There's 128 companies in total, and they hold stock on consignment for them. Now, what consignment stock is, instead of when a distributor buys stock off you, which typically a distributor might buy stuff off you for 50% retail or 40%, whatever percent retail, and then it is their property then, and they go on and they sell it on to retailers, and retailers go on and sell it on. So you get paid, the distributor just buys it off you, and the deal's done, kind of, basically.
You set them at a discount so they can get what they can for it.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Consignment stock is different. Consignment stock means they take possession of your stock, but they don't buy it off you. They store it in their warehouse, and you only get paid if it gets sold.
Yeah.
And that's usually on like a quarterly basis or something. They'll send you a report saying we sold this, here's the money for it. So
and sometimes they'll send you the stock back if they can't sell it. Eventually.
So do they charge you? Does that mean they charge you more money because they're paying for warehousing fees?
There's different deals, and it depends on who you are and how big you are. You know, it's usually a case by case thing. But generally speaking, on consignment, as a publisher, you'll get between 30 and 40% of the cover price.
Yeah.
On a sale. It's
So
not great. But...
So it's less money, but you don't have to worry about it. You've got the books. Someone else is flogging them, and you'll get money for them at some point, or you'll get your books back if it.
The main reason to go on consignment is it's less risk for the distributor as well, because if they're not sure if they can sell your stuff, it means they don't have to buy it, so they're not paying outright. So if you're a smaller publisher wanting to get into mainstream distribution, offering consignment can be a good way to get involved that way. That's how we got started a lot of places in the US, because they're like, well, we don't have a history to know how much stuff we should order and sell of your products. So if we do it this way, then it's no risk to our business.
Although it's interesting that some of the consignment companies that Diamond has listed include comic book companies like Marvel and DC, who definitely have a history and they definitely know, you know.
Yes.
So it's not just for, you know, people starting up. Some people just, you know, that is their model. That is their business model. But none
of this is remarkable. This is all like just background.
Standard.
This is how we sell books. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
Diamond, not everything Diamond does is necessarily on consignment, but in this case, a list of 128 companies do have their stock on consignment.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Quite a lot. Yeah. Most of them are comic book publishers. There's some toy companies there as well. But there's some tabletop gaming companies in there. Not a lot, but there's some. There's Goodman Games. There's Green Ronin Publishing. There's Piso Publishing. There's Roll for Combat. So they're the four that I noticed in the list. There might be others.
Yeah.
There's an article on EN World with all of them listed. But and of course, there's comic book publishers like Marvel and DC and things like that. So there's loads. You know, it's a big list of companies that have stock on consignment with Diamond. Now, Diamond filed for bankruptcy in January.
Right.
A bunch of publishers are saying that they are still owed payments for retail sales from late 2024, which, given that they've gone bankrupt, you can write those off. You're probably not getting those.
Yeah. But if they got books on consignment, those books are still the publishers, right?
Yeah.
Interesting thing to say.
I feel that meme coming on where you've got Padme talking to Anakin.
right, yeah.
And we've got Anakin just smiling, and Padme's like, "Those books are still the publishers, right?" Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Normally, unsold stock, as we know, gets returned to the publishers.
Yeah.
Now, Diamond
is the publishers. Yeah.
Has asked the bankruptcy court to allow it to take ownership of that stock,
right,
and sell it so that it can pay off its debts.
Interesting.
Which
it can sell other people's property off to pay off.
Correct.
That is a good trick if you can manage it.
You probably can.
I do not feel that it is legal. Or am I?
It is looking like it is legal.
You could get.
It's not fair and it's not nice, but it's looking like it's legal. Unfortunately,
legal loophole, because the way bankruptcy and like, I'm not an expert, but I closed down a business and we went through via insolvency. And what happens is basically the insolvency people take over. They pause business operations, and then they look at what you have that they can sell and how much money you have, and they have a list of your creditors, and they organize, you know, what's appropriate and fair and the importance of it. So technically, because they have this consignment agreement, they can legally sell those things and send the money to the people that own it, but they are a creditor. So what would happen is they could technically legally sell it, saying, oh yeah, we're doing that consignment agreement, but then because operations have ceased and that money goes in the pot, it might not trickle down to those, because they might be lower creditors in the order. So
one of the biggest creditors here is
illegal, but it's crappy.
Yeah. So one of the biggest creditors here is Chase Bank, which apparently they've refinanced like 4 times or something with Chase Bank. So they owe Chase Bank some undisclosed but very large amount of money, and they owe a couple of others millions, like comic book publishers and things like that. A lot, you know, which is probably on a bigger scale than the tabletop gaming ones.
This seems like some very bad financing decisions by the banks, going in quite so hard on a comic book and tabletop role-playing game distributor, do these people not understand that there's not a lot of money in this industry?
Well, I can't comment on that.
Yeah, wow.
But I mean, obviously,
Okay,
the bank
never
is
mind,
going to be at the top of the. Whenever you get a list of creditors in a bankruptcy
Mhm.
situation, loans are first in that list of
Right.
priorities.
I see. Yeah.
And then it goes down. So Case Bank will be the first company to get paid. And obviously, in a bankruptcy situation, there's never enough to go around. Not everyone's going to get paid everything they're owed. It's just not going to happen.
Yes.
Probably these tabletop gaming companies are not going to get a thing.
No.
Not a thing. So what's happened is Diamond has filed to the bankruptcy court, and there's going to be a hearing on, I believe it's the 21st of July. Yes, 21st of July, which is 3 weeks away. 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Interesting. It's during Comic Con, I think.
Wow.
Which I think the timing of that's a bit odd, because most of these are comic book publishers, and the hearing is to hear objections from the affected vendors. So the affected vendors will really be at Comic Con. So I think the timing could be better.
Yeah.
That seems, I don't know, the coincidence. Is it a coincidence, or is that, I don't know.
It seems like the sort of place where Diamond would be selling their books. So it's like, wow, that would be an awkward situation. You see them selling your books at a discount, and you're not getting anything. Wow.
Well, Diamond. So this is how it works. There's some paperwork. It's a technicality. It's a paperwork called a UCC1 financing statement. Now, what happens is when you put something on consignment, this statement, this paperwork, means that you are claiming title to the work, the books, or the stock on consignment. So when the administrators go through the bankrupt company's assets, you can say, that's not the bankrupt company's assets, ignore that, that's mine. Look, here's the paperwork to prove it. If that paperwork hasn't been filed, the liquidators treat it as though it is an asset of the bankrupt company. It's stocked in their warehouse, for which they've got a distribution agreement and the right to sell. So as far as they're concerned, so this is where the legal part comes in. If you haven't filled in that form, literally just saying that is not the property of Diamond, then unfortunately it looks like it is, which is a very unfortunate situation to be in. I mean, it's not like, a bunch of little gaming tabletop companies kind of forgot to do it or something. It's like DC and Marvel didn't do it either. It's not something that you would know to do until you found yourself in the situation.
If you're not into bankruptcy law, then so whose responsibility was it to notify them, or is it just bankrupt? Good luck to you.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, there's a court hearing, so it's not fully decided, but it looks likely that it's going to be a formality. But there was a chance that the court could turn around and deny them this application. But the important company just basically means because the consignment vendors didn't file this prior to the bankruptcy in January.
It means prior to the bankruptcy.
Yes,
so they should have known in advance.
Bankruptcy.
Sorry, carry on.
It means basically they forfeit their rights to the stocks. So there's an article on EM with some of the actual legal terminology.
Wow.
The consigners, i.e. the comic book and tabletop gaming companies, have not satisfied the requirements under applicable law to perfect their interests in this consigned inventory. As further explained below, this gives the debtors, Diamond, the right to transfer title to this inventory free and clear of the consignor's interest. The debtors accordingly seek to sell or otherwise dispose of the consigned inventory free and clear of the interest if any of the consignors. To that end, the debtors seek approval of consignment sale procedures to permit them to market, sell, and otherwise dispose of the consigned inventory.
Wow.
Yeah.
That feels incredibly crappy. A fair thing to do, in my mind, but what's legal and what's fair, not the same thing, would be to say, hey, we're going bankrupt. If you have stuff with us, you have until this date to get this paperwork in. And then after that, you know, I'm hoping that's what the hearing will do.
It's not in their interest to do that, because their job now is to, and their legal obligation is to pay off their creditors. They have to do that. That's basically
by stealing from other creditors.
Well, but technically the others aren't creditors. That's the problem. Just because you have consignment stock with them, you're not a creditor. Perhaps if you are owed money for the sales that weren't paid prior to the bankruptcy in late 2024, you are a creditor, but probably a very low priority creditor, because it's not going to be the sort of money that's owed to Chase Bank and Marvel and GC and that sort of thing.
Of course.
So, it's you're not technically a creditor. You're not technically on that list.
I know legally, but I was saying what I think the fair and right thing to do. That.
Oh yeah.
That's not.
No, I agree. It sucks. It absolutely sucks, and it's utterly unfair. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I'd hate to be one of those companies.
Yeah.
I'd hate to be one of the. I feel really, really bad for them.
Yeah.
It makes me mad when the law isn't on the side of making things fair, because in my mind, and I'm not naive, I know this is not how the world works, but in my brain, this is how I want it to work. Should be there to make things fair, and like.
Yeah, I agree.
It frustrates me when it doesn't, because I'm like, why are we doing this?
There's also a double whammy to this.
Yes.
So when you so when you liquidate a company's assets, nothing gets sold at retail value. Nothing gets sold at its actual value. Stuff gets auctioned off. Things get sold off for pennies on the dollar. Stuff like that. They just get what they can for what they've got in an attempt to raise enough money to pay as much of the creditors as possible. So what that means is all of this stock, which technically does not belong to the publishers anymore, is going to be put on the market by liquidators at a fraction of their actual value, making it really hard for the actual publishers to even reprint or sell the actual books at their actual value. Because why? Because a customer will come along and go, hang on a second, why would I pay £50 for this book from this publisher when I can go and pick it up from Diamond for a tenner or a fiver? So it's a double whammy. Not only have you lost all your stock, and that could be thousands and thousands, depending, how much stock you have with them. You also have kind of, for quite a long time, lost the ability to actually sell. Not just that stock that you've lost, but any replacement stock that you might, print for it.
Wow.
Assuming you can actually get that replacement stock into distribution, because your distributors has got to disappear. So, it's a triple whammy, really.
Yeah.
It's a horrible situation to be in.
It all boils down to there was a form they didn't fill in before the bankruptcy was declared.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That seems pretty negligent on somebody's part. So, yeah. Wow.
Well, we've heard from a couple of the tabletop publishers. Chris Pramus of Green Ronin just exchanged a few words with me on social media yesterday. So just saying, they've been in this situation before, back in the early 2000s with a different company.
Right.
So this is their first time this has happened to them.
Damn.
And I think back then they lost like 10 grand or something like that. This time, apparently, it's way worse. But of course, it was bad for them back then because they were much smaller back then as well. So 10 grand was, was an existential problem.
Let's not make any bones about it. This is a very serious problem to have affected on your company.
Absolutely, yeah. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So Piso Publishing is one on that list.
Yes.
So they rely on Diamond to get all of their books into sort of mass market bookstores, chain stores. So the Barnes and Nobles and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And on Amazon, because part of what Diamond does also, it handles Amazon consignments as well. because Amazon, as Jess knows, is not fun to deal with on that front individually.
It's the worst.
It is. It is. So if you can hand that off to a distributor and let them do that, you know. But so Piso has said that basically it's upcoming releases, and we're talking quite a lot of releases. There's 12 in August and 10 in September they've got scheduled. Piso ships a lot of product every month, like 10 times as much as Wizard of the Coast does. It's you know, it has a lot of volume. So we've got 12 August and 10 September releases that they've talked about so far. And these are things like bigger releases like Starfinder Player Core, Starfinder GM Core. They're coming Pathfinder Battle Cry and stuff like that, as well as a bunch of like battle maps and flip mats and all the other sort of stuff that they do. So that's 22 products there. They have said that those will not be available at major bookstores or at Amazon. Because, you know, they've obviously stopped shipping products to Diamond. Because why would you continue to ship products into a black hole? You know, the distributor's gone. I mean, Piso, you know, one of Piso's big channels is basically currently not available to them.
Yeah. And I know some people might think, oh, why don't you move to another distributor and sort that out? Moving to a distributor and setting up that logistics chain does take several months. So there's I've been talking to people about stuff that's going to be in shops Q4 of this year, like already, and that's like about the time you'd be talking to them about it. So you're setting things up about 6 months in advance. So pivoting for things like that isn't very quick, and the bigger scale it is, the longer it will take. So it's not quite as easy. I'm sure they will long term move to another distributor, but that's time.
But it does suck big time. It really does. It's horrible. So we've got Sean J there in the chat says if Ronin, I think it means, has had this happen to them before, I'm a bit surprised they wouldn't have signed a contract that would allow such terms again. It's just kind of the standard way it's done. It's like take it or leave it kind of situation. It's like, do you want your books in the shops or not? It's not like there's like 100 distributors out there clamoring for your books. It took us 20 years to get a distributor to agree to even answer our calls, let alone, you know what I mean? It's not an easy thing to do.
I've spent 5 years annoying various distributors in the US.
And finally, one of them has gone, fine, if you'll stop contacting us, we'll take your books.
We'll take some damn books already. Oh, God. Just
hooray! I will.
Assistance works. Luckily, it's not Diamond that you were talking to. That would suck.
Oh, that would, if I like, yay, finally we did that. Oh no. That would have been terrible.
That wouldn't have been good at all.
But
but that's the story. So hearing is on July 21st. Hear objections from the affected vendors, and then I guess after that we'll hear what's happening. And my guess is that those objections are just a formality and it's going to go ahead, but I don't know. I don't know for sure. But wow, is that a horrible, horrible situation to be in?
Yeah. Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous.
Yeah. I mean, if all of the stock that we had with a distributor were to suddenly go up in smoke like that, I mean, I don't think it would kill the company, but it would.
No, it wouldn't. No,
it wouldn't be
ruin us for a long, long, long time.
It would be really frustrating because we'd need to do another print run, which perhaps we hadn't planned or financed for, because you kind of do a print run and think, well, that'll last us X amount of time, and you count on the sales coming through for that to pay for the next. It would be significant. But luckily for us, mainstream distribution isn't our main income channel. But I think for a lot of these bigger companies, that's their main income channel. So for them, it will be. Depends what your model is, I suppose.
Yeah. But anyway, that, I guess, is that.
Well, sorry to hear for the people that's happened to. I guess if you support any of those companies on the list and you like them, buy some stuff from them directly for the time being. Go to their website and buy a book from them if you'd like to support them.
Right. Should we move on?
Let's move on.
Oh.
You stuck this one up there, Jess. The NES haven't actually announced the nominees yet, though. They're
They
doing so
haven't.
today, is that right?
But they have said they're going to do it today. On their website says July the 4th is when they're going to announce the nominees and the Judges' Choice Awards.
But they're in America, so they'll be doing it 6 hours behind us. So it will happen when we finish the podcast. They'll announce the nominees. Yeah.
I was hoping. I'm on the
perfect.
page now, refreshing it. The page for the 2025 nominees is up, but it has a password to enter. So I assume behind the scenes they're just making sure everything is fine and ready. I do not have the password. I'll tell you, but as soon as
it's going to be 5 p.m. Pacific. So
yeah, probably, and we're recording
3 a.m.
Yeah, 10 a.m. Eastern time is as of time of me speaking. So I'm refreshing the page. It's not up yet, so I don't have it to share with you. But if you're listening to this podcast over this weekend, if you go to the ENNIE's website, it'll likely be up on there, and I'm sure we'll have an article up on EN World with the nominees. And who knows what tabletop podcasts might be on there. Fingers crossed, maybe.
What we could do, though, is since we've got the ENNIE's in mind at the moment, they started a Hall of Fame program this year.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, and they were putting a different thing into the Hall of Fame each month. So it's happened at the beginning of, started in December, November, October. It started in October last year. And then the things that are in the Hall of Fame are, so October was Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
And November was Traveller.
Yeah.
December was Dragon Magazine.
Oh, okay.
January was Champions. February.
Released by Hero Games in 1981.
Yeah. February was Ralpatha Miniatures.
Oh, goodness. All right.
Just going back a bit, isn't it? March was Search of the Unknown and Keep on the Borderlands. So some old OD&D adventure modules. Classic ones. April was Shadowrun.
Oh, yeah.
May, James Bond.
Huh?
I'm not sure why.
Sure, wow.
It was the role-playing game published by Victory Games in 1983, which is a subsidiary of Avalon Hills.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm not sure why it's in the Hall of Fame. I never thought it was a great. I mean, I've got it up there. I don't know. Okay.
It's because of the mechanics, because it's the hero point system.
Yeah, I think it's just not iconic like the other ones are. Like Shadowrun's an iconic game.
Yeah.
Call of Cthulhu is an iconic game. Traveller's an iconic game. James Bond is just a licensed property, which was never. Well, okay, fair enough. They liked it.
I don't think I've ever seen a James Bond game being run anywhere, and I might have seen it and had my eyes glanced over it.
Well, there's definitely been a licensed James Bond game since then. You'd have thought there would be, wouldn't you? But there hasn't been. There's been spy games, but no James Bond.
22 years. So yeah, that's
maybe they're just holding it up as like example of representing a license or a genre really well. And there's lots of games that have gone on to do it since, but maybe it was one of the first ones because it was out in the early 80s that kind of did a really good job of taking a license and making mechanics and
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, what it would do really well. It would do a really good duet game.
Do you mean a solo game?
No, I mean a duet game. That's because words have meaning, Jessica. Yeah, but no, I mean it'd be quite fun, wouldn't it?
Gordon J says, "Would you be more surprised to see the Dallas RPG?" Do you mean, Sean? This Dallas RPG? This precious gem? Oh man. Which, to be honest, isn't really an RPG when you read it. But yeah. I would be more surprised to see the Dallas RPG. Yes, I would.
On the ENNIE Awards Hall of Fame.
I'd be extremely surprised.
Well, who knows? We'll just have to keep our eyes peeled on the ENNIE Awards website.
Do you actually have the James Bond one as well? Let me see. Can I see it from here?
Russ,
Yes. Yes.
focus on the
Hmm?
podcast. Focus
I'm
on
looking for the
podcast.
James Bond RPG. I'm looking for the James Bond RPG. I've got it there somewhere.
And that is thrilling
Right.
for our audio podcast listeners to
It is.
listen
It
to the
is.
sound of Russ looking behind him at his
Looking
wall
for
of role-playing
yeah.
games.
It's brilliant podcasting material. I know that all the viewers as
All right,
well.
I'll stop looking. It is there somewhere, but I'll stop looking. Okay.
Okay.
I do have it.
Let's move on to another announcement. We believe you that you have all the role-playing games.
I don't have all of the role-playing games. This is not
Well, I just
not a
said
thing.
you did on the podcast.
I have some role-playing games.
He's got all
Many.
the role-playing games before 1990.
Anyway,
Hmm.
should we talk about the next piece of news?
Ooh,
Okay, what's the next piece of news?
Mausritter month.
Whoa, ho! I
PJ,
got
did you
on
put
their
this in?
Backerkit.
I did put this up because I thought it was quite a good idea.
Mhm.
Alas, time has fled, so they now have closed submissions. But they've got a Mausritter month coming up, which is a collaboration between Backerkit, Losing Games, Games Omnivorous, and Exalted Funeral, who are a UK-based publisher. That last one, and they're featuring an abundance of fantastic new works from Mausritter's third-party creators. So lots of sword and whiskers, mystery, danger, and intrigue awaits. So I believe it's.
Do we want to explain what Mausritter is?
Oh, you know what? That had not occurred to me that would be a thing that I'd have to do, but you're completely correct. Mausritter is basically D&D, but mice would be, I think, like a reasonable way to do it. If you've read all books, if you've read I mean, maybe that's a bit more OSR, but Swords and Sorcery sort of vibes. But yeah, like if you read all books by Brian Jacks, or you said, or you watched the Rats of Nim and said, you know what, this would be better with more mice and more swords, then Mausritter is very much the game for you. One of the things I am most keen about with respect to it, which I know about, and that is because the inventory system is, can you draw a picture of your mouse carrying the item? If you can, you're allowed to carry that item.
Utterly delightful.
So, but if you could draw a picture of a mouse carrying a house, you can carry it.
Correct. But
right.
But like, yeah, if you're just carrying a very small house, you only have a very small house.
But you could draw a house and just draw a tiny mouse underneath it.
Yeah.
And that's your mouse carrying a house.
I'll let your sense of imagine, Russ, to decide whether you think that would be appropriate. But yeah.
Of course it would be appropriate. It's within the rules. That's how rules work.
The limit is your imagination.
I guess that would be one of those house mouse that they talk about.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so that's coming up November 2025, not September, as I said. Never can get those two separated. But yeah, so keep an eye on. If you are a big fan of like Mice with Swords, then November this year, Backerkit will have a whole month of projects featuring it for you to spend your money upon and back these projects. I thought it was quite an interesting idea, to be honest. I only regret that I did not get it to people in time, so that they could get their submissions in.
Well, people can look out for it in November, but yeah.
Yeah.
We also have some other news.
Other news from Adobe.
Yes.
Adobe.
Oh yeah.
Peter, again, this is you, I believe.
Yes. From last week when it was actually June. But this is terrible news for layout people. Adobe is automatically moving subscribers to a pricier AI-focused tier in June. So you should probably check to...
AI-focused? Oh dear. What does that mean?
Well, Adobe has their own version of AI, which is basically they scrape all the material that you have saved in the Adobe cloud, and then they have used it. They have currently used it and been using it to recreate people who are famous creators and have their work on Adobe to sell work like that creator's, describing it as being in that creator's style. I can't remember the names of the artists, but I've seen it, and largely I've just seen the artists rightly saying, "Excuse me, I did not
Don't do
consent for
that.
you. I did not
Yeah.
consent for you to do this with my work. What the hell are you doing? Yeah. So I think they had. I can't keep track because I don't like Adobe. I don't use Adobe. I think they're a terrible company, to be quite honest. I wouldn't have anything to do with them. But it's been back and forth, and now this has come up that they're basically automatically moving people on to subsidize the AI goonery. And yeah, there we go. So check your subscriptions, folks, if you are forced to use Adobe for work. It may be
Let's
that
have
they
a
have
look.
pulled fast one on you.
Oh yeah, let's
Yeah.
have a look. So we got so originally it was $60 a month.
Mhm.
The Creative Cloud Pro subscriptions going up to 70, and the ones for
Mhm.
students and teachers are going from 35 to 40.
Yeah. Like double-digit price increases. Excuse me, cost of living much, for a digital subscription, no less. Yeah. What is the increase in your digital load that is justifying this price rise? It's moving everyone over to AI and subsidizing the theft from artists. Exciting
Yeah.
times.
And I guess we're mentioning this because this will, of course, affect all the layout artists and all digital artists that work in the TTRPG space, most of whom are freelance people, so have to pay for these tools themselves out of their kind of running costs and things. And also,
because clients insist on using Adobe. Yeah.
As you're upgraded to use the AI thing, I know a lot of people now have contracts, like we have it in our artists, that's saying you can't use generative AI when you're making stuff for us. And a lot of other companies choose to do that. If you're using Adobe, isn't it going to be really hard for you as the artist to prove that contractual obligation that you haven't, if it's embedded in there? Because it gets.
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
it
it would be up to us to prove that they've breached their contracts, not for them to prove that they haven't breached their contract. So
yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like it's. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what I'm saying with that, but
yeah, it's
I had the
just
beginnings of a thought.
AI, it's just worried that AI would be snuck in by the back door, and that it would then be upon the consumer to prove that it's been happening, which is very much the wrong way around. Horse before cart, etc.
I'm just worried it encourages that AI witch hunt that we see more.
Yeah, and you actually cannot use any of these tools that look at art or look at writing and say whether or not something is AI, because they are worse than people at guessing that. They're terrible. They'll come back and say something's 95% definitely AI when it definitely is not, or vice versa. They're just awful.
Well, especially in the TTRPG sphere, where a lot of the work that was stolen and used to train the original models is from this sphere. So, if it's like you're doing some book cover for a novel for your romantasy, then it might possibly potentially be helpful. I couldn't say, I really don't know. But if you're using TTRPGs, it's probably going to give you a false positive.
Yeah, but it's even worse. Like people they spot a mistake in a piece of art or an imperfection of some kind and say that is proof that it's AI. It's like, no, that's not at all, because humans are imperfect. Why do you think every artist makes a perfect piece of art? They don't, and that's what makes it art.
We had that. I had an advert up for one of our What's Lord's new books, and someone said, well, this is clearly an AI art piece, so I won't be backing it. And I was like, well, it's not, because this art piece was actually, we're using an older art piece, and I think it had been commissioned in like 2014, 2015. I was like, no, because the artist
AI
gave it to us then. So
ChatGPT's eyes sort of thing.
Unless it used a what's it, time travel machine.
So one of the big problems is the big stock art things on sites, which used to be so useful for people who wanted to do art on a budget, but it's just not policed well enough at all. And it's really hard to avoid accidentally buying AI art from them now, because it's not labeled a lot of the time. I mean, they'll say our policy is that artists who use AI have to label it, but of course the artists don't. And they don't police it, so it gets to the point where something like Shutterstock or something like that, which you just can't use it now, because you just can't. You don't know whether the art you're buying was AI. The only way you can do it is make sure you buy art that was from 2021 or before. At least you know that won't be made by generative AI, because that was before Midjourney and all that lot launched. But that's the only way you can be sure. You got to set a filter to anything before 2021, nothing after. That's the only way to be sure.
Makes it incredibly hard. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway,
Tell me about Strahd. Tell me something about Strahd.
Oh yes. Is it me again? Oh, I've got like a little whole stream of good stuff. So this isn't like hugely new. Don't get me wrong. But this is about Curse of Strahd Reloaded, which previously, as far as I was aware, had been a Reddit post on a Reddit forum. But now I noticed that it's actually created a whole new website. And on that website, it basically takes you through a step-by-step guide to running the Curse of Strahd campaign with lots of little changes and suggestions to make it a lot easier to use. So it's a really user-friendly version of how to run Curse of Strahd. So for some people, this will be old news. They don't care, whatever. But there's a lot of new GMs out there, and the Curse of Strahd campaign is a classic, and this deals with things like content warnings, trigger warnings, and so forth to get it right. And I infamously played this in 24 hours for a sponsored thing once, and that was very good fun. But I was like, how are you supposed to do this if you don't have a crack team of adventurers who are all like super min-maxed and ready to go and have a very good teamwork and know how would you do this as a normal game? Because if you just did it as a normal game, people are just going to be murdered pretty much in the first encounters. I can imagine there's been a lot of games which have been cut very short if you play it as written. So what this does is it basically says, don't go in on that side of the map, go in on this side of the map. And then there's just like it builds up and there's lots of like sensible ways to do it. So, I'm really glad to see it has has its own separate website. StrahdReloaded.com, because it just makes a lot of sense. Breaks it down into 4 acts, and a very thorough, very good analysis. It's a good resource. So I thought I'd shout it out for people who want to give it a go.
Very cool.
Nice.
Very cool. All right, I think we're pretty much at the end of the news now. We're just going to mention something that we're doing next week.
Hooray!
What are we doing next week, Jess?
We're gonna launch a Kickstarter, I believe.
That doesn't sound like us. We don't do that often, do we?
Yeah. So Pets and Sidekicks, the little thought I had to Russ a while ago, saying I want more pets, please. And Russ said yes, and then Paul Hughes wrote it and made it a thing.
Are you drunk with power now, Jess?
So complain to designers about things you want in games, and they will eventually make it for you, is the story I learnt from this.
I mean, that's literally a lot of what I do. I see people whining about stuff on the internet. I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, let me fix this.
You see? There we go. It works. But so Pets and Sidekicks obviously brings heroic companions to your D&D and Level Up A5e games. And this week, Russ wrote a nice article about the magic items, because like almost 50 in there. So some are for your pets and some are for players and things. But so there's loads of good stuff in there. So if you go to levelup5e.com, you can read about the magic items. That was the new thing we shared this week.
I mean, there's about 8 or 9 preview articles on levelup5e.com now, going back over the last month or two. Loads of them. I can't wait for this. I've been looking at the PDF this week, and it's I just think this is it's a really good idea, and it's needed, and it's something that fills a space that needs to happen. And also it's just
niche.
really cool. A niche, yeah.
I'm excited to back it.
Yeah, that's one.
I'm excited to have you back it.
Yes, but so we're planning on launching that next week, and on podcast notes next week we will have Paul Hughes, the writer, on to talk about it in more detail. So if you do have any questions, either pop them on the Kickstarter page when you back it, or come watch the live stream at 2 p.m. BST, which is 9 a.m. Eastern. On the
is this going up on Kickstarter, or is it going up on Backerkit?
This is on Kickstarter.
On Kickstarter, good to know.
Yeah, because we did do Level Up the Gate Pass Gazette on Backerkit. So we are using Backerkit for some projects as well. So we're mixing it up. But we'll have the link in the show notes to go through for Pets and Sidekicks if you want to have a look.
Yeah. So that's launching on Tuesday, and we cannot wait. It's going to be so exciting. Right. I think we're done.
I think we are done.
I think it's the weekend.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Amen.
Well, let's go and do the weekend. We'll see you all next Friday, or Superman Day, as I like to call it. I have not yet. Once I get off this podcast, I'll be booking tickets for me and Sharon to go and see Superman next Friday evening. Cannot wait. I've been waiting for this film for ages. I do like a Superman, and it's got a dog in it. What else could you do to entice me into the cinema? There's nothing else you could do, really. Put a Superman in it, put a dog in it, I'm there.
There you go. That's going to be the next level up book then. Superman and a dog.
Superman and a dog, yeah.
I'm sure we can get that license.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, we'll see you all next week. Thank you all for listening.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All the tabletop role-playing news. We aim to amuse and we aim to enthuse. And Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG. Doggy.